Okay, this is my first time ever seeing this. And I'm gonna be honest. If you want me to be honest about what I'm looking at, I'm glad that you got your ass in there so that you can't hurt any damn body else. I have no sympathy for you. I hate you for everything that you did, and I hope that you rot in hell. 2 years ago, I said, well, I need to get it together because it's killing me. But seeing this tombstone, I could go out there and take that tombstone and pull him up and kill his ass all over again. That's the honest to God truth. It's hard to think about what I've been through with my son and to have to relive it. And I'm hoping that this reach my son because he don't call me. He don't want a relationship with me. I was always so embarrassed. I couldn't talk to him about it. I was angry with myself for a long time. I'm still angry with myself. I should have paid attention. I felt stupid. I felt dumb. I thought Ray was the perfect man. I overlooked all the red flags because I wanted love. I wanted to be loved. And I wanted my son to be loved. I wouldn't have never thought that a father could have did what he did. And then he went on and hurt other people. Ray was evil. Ray was evil. Ray was evil. Before I met Ray, I was a normal, carefree teenager. I was living with my mom. We lived in Milwaukee on the northwest side. Ray, he lived a door away from my mom. I would see him outside, and I'm like, this is a very nice looking man.
Let's see what you got.
Ray was tall, handsome, dark. He dressed really well. Very clean man. And I had a crush. Right away, my mom, she saw me looking at him. And she was like, don't mess with that boy. I don't like that boy. And I'm like, whatever. I never asked her, why didn't she like him? She just didn't like him. I think that my mom might have seen something that I didn't know about with Ray. I think looking back, she already knew that he had evil within him because she could not stand this man. I never thought in the beginning that he would turn out to be what he was.
That's the win. That's the win.
One day I went to the store and I got dressed up. I wanted to look so beautiful because I'm like, he gotta see me. He has to see me. So I turned around, Ray's behind me. Okay, and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I was like, is he gonna say anything? I'm not gonna say anything to him. He needs to say something to me. We walked about 8 blocks and he didn't say anything. That was kind of weird. But you know, you're young, you're silly, so I thought it was kind of cute. But later on, I got a little nervous with that. Just looking back on it. I didn't realize that was stalking. In the beginning, everything was good, but later on, I started getting a lot of phone calls from Ray. A lot of phone calls. We could talk for an hour, and then he'd hang up and call right back. What you doing now? I'm like the same thing I just got through doing 5 minutes ago.
Ray, calm down. Calm down, it's okay.
Ray would ask me, when you coming back? Do you love me? And I'm like, I told you that already, I love you. So Ray started getting kind of weird on me.
Just tell me what's happening.
Ray would start crying. I didn't understand it. What's wrong? What's going on? And he would just tell me, nothing. I'm hurt. I'm scared I'm gonna lose you. It started getting like obsessive. Everybody needs to feel secure. And I know when I was younger, I would get hugged to make me feel okay. And I felt that he just needed someone to hold him and to understand him. And I thought that things would be okay. I didn't tell my mom about Ray at first. I think she suspected, something was going on. Not long into our relationship, Ray started sending a lot of flowers. 1, a dozen, 6. It started weirding me out. I told him he didn't have to spend that type of money on me, but he said, you're my woman. One day, me and my mom had went somewhere, and we come back, and I see all these flowers leading up to the door. And my mom, she just shook her head in disgust. The flowers had little notes. I love you infinity and back. You're my everything, things of that nature. But the message on the last flower was, death is near. Chills ran through my body, a cold chill. Why would he send a message like that? That message went all the way through my soul because I couldn't understand. Why would he send a message saying death is near? That note stuck with me to this day. I'll never forget that feeling. My insides shook. I couldn't brush it off like that because when somebody tell you death is near, they're planning something. I think that I ignored the red flags. If I had paid attention a little bit more, I think things would have maybe been different. The day my mom seen the flowers, she was like, I told you about that boy. Are you having sex with him? And I told her, no, I'm not having sex with him. I lied all the way up until I got pregnant. I was just 18. I couldn't wait to get home to tell Ray. I felt very hopeful. I thought that this would be a new chapter where we're going to be parents. I was just so excited. I was ready to be a mother at that early age. And I hoped that he would feel the same way. And I'm like, okay, get yourself together. And then my heart is just beating, because I got some exciting news. So I finally say, I got something to tell you. I said, I got some news. I'm pregnant. And he started calling me names. He called me a bitch and a whore. And that this child is not his. He also stated, I lied to you about my age. I'm 16. I was like, what? He was like, you're gonna go to jail. And it devastated me. I never even thought he would change like that. It was a total different person. had a lonely pregnancy. I thought one day he would come to the door and tell me he was sorry. He never came to the door. There was many nights I went to bed crying. I felt rejected. I felt rejected. Just as I had as a child, that feeling came back. The rejection, the lies, all of it just came back. And I had nobody to talk to about it. My mom, I'm sorry, she's gone now. She wasn't interested. I had nobody. It was just me. I'm trying not to cry, but I'm doing a pitiful job here. I didn't think of any other name. I'm like, I want him to be named after his father. This is a love child. And seeing this little baby, it was just wonderful to see what me and him had created together. And at that moment, that's when I was a woman. I got somebody that's gonna love me for the rest of my life. That's how I felt. And I looked at him one day and I said, I'm gonna take some pictures of you and I'm gonna put these in your daddy's mailbox. My mom had an instant camera and I went in there, I took pictures of him. And I put him in an envelope and I went and put this envelope in his mailbox. And I'm like, I bet you this'll change him. So one day I go to the mailbox and I look, there's another envelope. It says Andrea on the outside. I go into the kitchen, I open the envelope and I see this picture with no head. My body started to shake. The pictures are cut. All 6 pictures, the head was cut off. That was like the worst thing. It was like pulling my heart out of me. That's like I couldn't breathe. One day I got home and I noticed things were different in the house. The floors were mopped. The floors were waxed. It was weird. I never make up my bed. And my bed was made up and there was flowers on top of the comforter. It was creepy. And I smell this smell of cologne, a man's cologne. And I checked the closets up under the bed and checked the hallway and I make sure the baby is secure. Shut the door. And I walked down the stairs and the smell is getting like really, really strong. So I opened the basement door. I started walking down the stairs. At that moment, I looked to the right and nobody's there. I'm scared to turn around to the left. And I turned to the left and Ray was there. He got on a ski mask, a black shirt, black leather gloves, black pants, and he has a huge butcher knife. So we just stared at each other. I said, "You're not gonna hurt me, are you?" So I didn't know what to do, and then something came over me. Start telling him how much you love him.
You are the most important thing in my life.
And at first, he was gripping the knife, like, really tight. When I said that, like he loosened up everything. Then I started hearing him weep. He started crying. as he dropped the knife, I took off. And I grabbed the door, and he was almost overpowering me. And it seemed like when I thought about my baby, I got real strong, and I pushed the door as hard as I could, and I put my foot up against it, and I locked it. I couldn't believe, because he was strong. After I locked him in the basement, I ran and called the police. By the time they got there, Ray had went through the basement window, and they couldn't do anything. It seems like he was never afraid of the police or anything. It was his word against mine. He had to hurt me before they could arrest him. He was just totally out of control at that moment. I just felt like Ray was gonna kill me. One day the phone rang, and I picked up the phone, and it was Ray, being apologetic, telling me he wants to be back with me. He was wrong for everything that he did. You gotta forgive me. Let's move together, and you're gonna see how much I'm gonna change. Ray told me that he wanted to start our family. I'm gonna change me for you and for my son. I believed him. And he really begged for this. He really begged. I want my family. And I think that was my weakness right there. I hope people don't be saying they hate me for being so stupid. I gotta tell the truth. You know, I went back to him even after that. Looking back at it now, that was all a plan. It was all a plan, and I didn't see through it. This is a picture of Ray and I when he was about 4 months old. I wasn't really happy right here because I had been through so much, but I was trying to put on a smile here. You know, even though I was going through so much, something like this can't do anything but make you smile. When you look at life in its purest form, there's no hatred there, there's no evil. This is pure love, it's no evil there. I would go through the same thing over again to bring this beautiful baby into the world. I would. I made it to the point where Ray, he's grown now, but I still want my baby. I would just love to just hold him, you know, and let him know that everything is going to be okay because I'm still here. I thought with us living together and being in that room, we will all bond. I wanted that so much for me and him, and for him and his baby, and for us as a family. But I noticed he wasn't as close to the baby as he should have been. He wouldn't pick him up that much or anything. I just didn't see that joy. A father holding his son. That's a powerful statement right there. I didn't see that. And I thought everything would come in time. So one day, we were sleeping, and Ray jumps out the bed. He grabs the baby. The window was open without like a screen on it, and he turned him upside down. He held him by his ankles with one hand out the window. Everything just happened so fast, and I'm looking like, what are you doing? Ray kept yelling, bitch, I'm gonna kill him. I told you I didn't want a baby. I started begging. I fell to the floor. I grabbed his leg, And I just kept begging. I said, please, don't drop him. I was nervous. I was scared. I was everything that's related to fear. I was outside of my body. And I said, Ray, please, don't drop him. I said, what's wrong with you? And he looked at me, and I said to him, I love you, please. And he brought the baby in. He brought him in. And he just started like hitting on stuff, telling me he's so stupid. He got a nice family, he's so stupid. I said, why are you doing this? What's wrong? And he said, you gotta listen to me. I ain't gonna never do this no more. I'm gonna go get help. I needed somebody to talk to me and tell me, he's hurting you. He's not right. That's not love. As a little girl, seeing my mother with my stepfather, I heard my mom crying back then, so I know that love hurts. You don't know any different when you came from abuse. You only know abuse. I just thought there could be just a little chance. Is he gonna go get treatment like he said? He promised me he would. And all of it was lies. And I believed them. And I thought it was just something in him that would change. People fix things, but it didn't. It didn't fix anything. He was evil. You can't fix evil. After he hung the baby out the window, things did get better with me and Ray and the baby. Things got a whole lot better. He started picking them up more. He started going to fix bottles. He started going to get the food, warming up the baby food. He started washing the baby clothes, drying them. He just started playing with the baby more, being more attentive, picking the baby up. And I started to feel hopeful, happy, and like maybe things will be okay. Maybe it'll be okay. So one day, I had to go to the store.
I just have to get a few things.
Sounds good.
And he said, okay, you don't have to worry about anything. It's going to be fine. And I kind of, like struggled a little bit leaving out the door. But I'm thinking he's going to be good. And I got sick. I had the worst feeling inside my body. And I didn't know what that was. I just had a horrible feeling. And I went home. And walking through the door, I heard the baby crying. Painful cry, You knew something was wrong. This baby sounded like he was gonna die. From the time that I walked in, the baby's scream was painful. It was gut-wrenching. I threw my purse down and I looked at Ray. He's holding the baby. His eyes is blood red. Well, I said, what's going on? What's wrong? So when the baby opened his mouth, his tongue is almost burnt out of his mouth. And I looked at the baby's head. He had a huge knot on his head. And I said, give him here right now. I said, I don't know what's going on here. And I touched the baby's legs, and the baby looked like he was going to pass out. I know what to think. It seemed like everything was in slow motion. So I made it to that door, and the hospital was like 2 blocks down the street. So I ran the baby down there. I'm like, nobody can do this to their own child. He didn't do this. There's no way he did this to his baby. Once I got in the hospital and they examined him, a lot of police officers, social services, all of these people came out. They want to know what happened. I felt I had failed. I knew my mother would say, "I told you so." And I wanted to think, he couldn't have did it. He couldn't have did it. And I started talking. I told them what happened. I explained to them everything. They did x-rays and all of that stuff. And the doctor came in the room. Andrea, he's bleeding in his brain. He twisted his legs one at a time. I'm not a violent person, but to do a baby, a helpless baby like that, I just had so much rage inside of me. I felt evil. I wanted to get him. I sat by his side. I didn't want to go home, change, bathe, or anything. I was too scared to even leave the room to go downstairs to get anything to eat. So after a while, the bleeding did stop. And I told the nurse that I was leaving to go home to shower. And she told me that the baby was going to be fine. So I went ahead and I left and went home and changed clothes and got the shower and just relaxed for a minute and tried to get it together. I went back out there and went to the room, and a nurse came to me. She said he started bleeding again at the head.
Something happened. We don't know if he's getting worse.
And I said, how? Why would that happen? And she was like, I don't know. For some reason I just asked, have anybody been out here? She said, yeah, his father. And I just started screaming, saying that he was supposed to be in jail. He wasn't supposed to be out here. It was just so many people around me, and I said, oh, how could y'all let him into the room? He did all of this to him. There was some nurses that was standing there crying. You were supposed to protect my baby. This is a baby. You let him sit in the room? Knowing that he was on the loose, all of this was just too much for me. After all of this abuse, he was able to come into my baby's room and continue trying to kill my son. I felt let down at that moment. I felt hurt. I felt a lot of pain. All we had to do was pray for the best. And that's what we did. Time had passed with the baby. Everything had healed in his head. After leaving the hospital, me and my baby moved back in with my mom. One day, my mom came in from work and she told me she seen Ray. I seen him riding down the street.
What are you talking about?
She told me there was another woman on the back of Ray's moped. She was pregnant. When I heard that, at that moment, I didn't give a damn. I didn't give a damn. I had hatred for him. There was no more love left. That was over. I hated him. I didn't care. but she was pregnant. So as a mother, I wanted to call her to let her know what type of danger she was in. And she answered. I asked her, was her name Tawana? And she told me, yeah.
Wanda, I need to tell you something about Ray.
She would hang that phone up. She didn't want to talk. She didn't want to believe. She didn't want to listen. I tried Tawana, tried calling back many times, and she refused to take my calls. I stopped calling, stopped trying. It was hard letting it go because I knew in my heart that something big was about to happen. I was at my mom's house. The TV was on, and I heard the news, and they said that a man had beat a baby to death, and that he changed her little dress. And I knew it was Ray. I didn't hear his name, but I knew it was him. I don't know how many minutes later, the phone rang, and it was Ray. He said, if I had had another baby, you would never have anything to do with me again. I didn't know what that meant. What do that mean? And we were just silent, and I hung up the phone. I just sat there and just, cried a little bit. Why would he do that to this baby? She was only 6 weeks old. Ray was charged with killing the baby, and they let him out once again. We had a child abuser on the loose. Now we got a killer on the loose. They let him out with my son, and they let him out when he even killed a baby. He was out free. And yeah, I feared for my life. I feared that Ray would come for me because he hadn't finished what he wanted to do. So a couple weeks after I was listening to the news and I found out Tawana was dead, Ray brought flowers to her house. She answers the door. She receives the flowers. She walked to put them in the vase, and he shot her. Hearing the news about him killing her, and to hear about these flowers again, it was always these flowers. And I started thinking about the one that he left, Death is Near. I felt a chill, a horrible chill come all the way through my body. To this day, I don't like flowers. Flowers was always a part of everything. I remember getting this paper, this journal, and I just cried. I couldn't even read the article. I was just focusing in on her. She was a pretty girl, and his fake smile. His smile was fake on here. And it really bothered me. It took me a while before I even read the article. I just looked at her and I just cried. She said, I do to this man. She made one of the biggest steps that a woman can make. She trusted him, just like I did. She believed in him. She bared a child for him. And he turned around and took her life and her baby's life. Evil has two faces. It don't want to show you right off the bat that it's evil. It wants to hide. It wants to make sure you believe in them. You don't know what a person have hidden inside of them. He was of no good. It was definitely a ticking time bomb. That evening, I got a phone call. I answered the phone. A gentleman said, "Is this Andrea Bell?" I said, "Yes." I started to shake, and he said, "Ray Clark is here. He shot himself, and I found this on him. There's a letter." And he read the letter, and he told me he loved me forever, infinity, and that he was sorry for everything that he had ever done. I was enraged, and I asked the police officer, would he put the phone to his ear? I told Ray that I wished him dead, and I screamed. And right before I could finish, the officer took the phone and he said, "He's dead, he's gone." You know, you have all these emotions inside of you. I didn't have to run anymore. I didn't have to hide anymore. I didn't have to look over my shoulder. I could go ahead and start living my life. He was dead now. That was total relief. Looking back on my life and things that I went through, it's hard to believe. I overlooked all the red flags because I wanted love. I wanted to be loved, and I wanted my son to be loved. You know, I had a hard walk. It was long. It was painful. But I made it through. When my son got older, we don't have a mother and son relationship. He don't call me. I haven't spoke to Ray in 2 years. He don't want a relationship with me. My son blames me for his father taking his life. I'm hoping that when Ray watches this, that he understands my story. This is the real story. And I'm sorry it took me so long to tell you. I pray that me and my son would get back together and everything would be okay. I'll always love him. From the day that I had him, it has never changed. My love for him is forever. And I'm waiting on that day to hear from my baby.
It's very difficult to even say that my mom killed children. I feel most of the skin on my fingertips. Sorry. I'm having a panic attack. I'm sorry.
You're born from a woman, and she starts out as your mother, and you would think that you would love your mother no matter what. I love the idea of having a mother, but I don't love her as my mother. And when I see her, I can't help but feel hatred and rage. A lot of people have asked me, have I ever thought about going to visit her? And I usually give the same response. I never want to see her again.
Evil exists in this world. What it looks like is right there in the purple shirt. Evil on this earth. Evil incarnate. If you've never looked at it, look into those eyes, because there evil sits.
I can't help but agree with her. This was a planned and executed murder of someone. To do something like that, it takes an evil and vile person, and she deserves whatever's gonna happen to her. This picture, kind of a family picture, which is really our only picture of all of us together as a family. Others may look at it and think, what a happy family. But to me, when I look at it, I can't think of it as a happy picture. Because I remember so vividly what led up to it. For me, it's a complete fake smile. It presents a false idea of what the reality of it was. Kimberly and I met through a mutual friend who set us up on a blind date. Went to a movie, which was I Married an Axe Murderer, which I'm not making that up. We had that first date and we really hit it off. You know, she was really charming and beautiful and very kind and understanding. She really valued being a mother, which I had a young child at the time, and so I really valued that. She was just recently divorced. I was recently divorced. We seemed to have a lot in common at that time. The earliest that I really started seeing signs that there was some kind of imbalance there was we had been dating for a couple of weeks, and she invited me to her divorce support group at her church. And I showed up early, and she was running late.
First time here?
Yeah, mine, my friend Kim, she's a regular.
Okay.
Here to support her.
Thanks.
So I went on in to the meeting, and she came in and kind of made a point of sitting on the other side of the room for me. And I didn't know what was, going on because she had invited me to this thing. So afterwards, she was acting very kind of mad at me, and I didn't really understand why.
What are you doing? You told me to come. I should have waited for you, I guess.
And she said, "How dare you go into the meeting without me? I invited you to this. You needed to wait for me outside." And this seems like such a small thing, but her change of mood was so quick for something so small, and it kind of left me puzzled as to what was going on with her.
I was just trying to help you.
I don't care what you were trying to do. This is my thing.
I was trying to respond like a normal person would respond. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Thank you for being so understanding.
And then suddenly she gets very romantic and passionate, just completely distracts and kind of makes you forget what just happened. My thought wasn't, wow, something's wrong, I need to get away from this person. It was more like, wow, she really likes me, Kimberly always had her own agenda, and it was her way or the highway.
What did I tell you about this?
I don't remember you saying anything.
I needed to have my gallbladder removed. So I had surgery to have it removed and then went home, and I was heavily medicated and laying on the couch.
This is unbelievable. You can't even follow the simplest of instructions.
And Kimberly got really mad at me because I had put some of my daughter's diapers in a diaper pail that she had said she was saving for something else. And so she just really completely just exploded, was screaming at me.
Next time, listen.
That night, suddenly I was out of medication. There were a couple of times during that time period where I would go to look for my medication, and previously there were, 4 Vicodin, and all of a sudden there's just 1. Or maybe even I might go and it's completely gone. The bottle's there, but they're all empty, where I swore that, I had more. I never really thought of her as the kind of person who would do that to deliberately make me suffer. But I kind of always assumed that, Kimberly took them. And I know this sounds really kind of pathetic, but I had tried to break up with her on a number of different occasions, but always allowed myself to get talked back into the relationship. But ultimately, I had finally resolved that I was going to break up with her, and she told me that night that
I'm pregnant.
And she had told me outright that she could not have more children. She had her first child, she said, through a high-risk pregnancy, and her doctor had told her that she was not able to have another child.
I thought you said this was impossible.
I guess it's our little miracle baby.
There is no doubt in my mind that she did that deliberately, and that she knew that she could get pregnant, and that she deliberately got pregnant.
All I'm saying is that we can do this as a team without being a couple.
And so we were having an argument, and I just said, I'm out. I can't do this.
You're just pathetic.
I'll be there for you through the pregnancy, but I can't marry you. We can't be together. But, I can still be part of the child's life.
You're just gonna ditch out on your obligations?
And she said, no, absolutely not. If you want to be part of this baby's life, we're going to be married. The idea of having a child out in the world and not being a part of his life is just unthinkable for me.
What, you want to get married?
So we decided to get married.
I think that's our best option, sweetheart.
And frankly, the wedding for me was not a happy occasion. I remember really clearly right before just going out behind the house and just kind of having a good crying session, that knowing that this is not gonna last. This is Kimberly holding Jamie in his first hours of life. And I think what this represents to me at the time was just some hope that things could be better than what they were. When Jamie is an adult, I need to be able to look at myself in the mirror and say that I had given everything that I have to give. She threw the hammer, and it kind of whizzed by my head. She was trying to kill me. I remember I had come home late from work. It was really late. I was exhausted. One of Kimberly's favorite things was just as I was about to fall asleep, she wants to start talking.
Hey, did you, fix the garbage disposal like I asked?
About, not really pleasant things, about maybe problems we'd had or whatever. We started arguing about it.
So what? We're just supposed to let the dishes pile up and live in a trash heap?
Eventually, I just had enough, and I got up. She was in full-on rage.
Don't you walk away from me when I am talking to you!
She just kind of looks like a wild woman, and is screaming pretty much at the top of her voice. I don't know where she got the hammer from, but she took the hammer and she just flung it right at me. And I dodged, but it just happened to just stick right into the wall. I've never really been in a situation where I felt like someone was trying to kill me. And honestly, I don't know whether she had murder on her mind at that point, but it felt like it. And I took a picture of it to have absolute proof that that is, in fact, going on. The hammer in the wall, it's right about eye level in the wall. We both did leave it in the wall for at least a couple of days. And for me, it was almost symbolic, like I was going to leave it there for her to see what she did. But she didn't do anything. She just left it there. It's hard to say whether I really knew her. The potential was there all along that she could murder someone. When I first got custody of Jamie, I had this idea that the nightmare's over, But there was an incident that happened at my house wherein Jamie and I got in kind of a scuffle.
He was watching a TV show, and I stood in front of the TV and I said,
I don't want to watch this.
And he said, no, you need to move.
If you change the channel, I'll move.
I'm not changing anything. We're watching this.
And I said, no, I'm not going to move. He was like, okay, well, I will move you.
What did I say? Jamie, get out of the way.
So he moved me and I started pushing him. Locking arms and kind of tug-warring against each other. I had fallen and hit my head on a corner of a TV stand. So I called my mom. My mother was a master manipulator. My mom decided to talk to a lawyer the next day and have me write down what had happened word for word on an affidavit. And a lot of the things that happened, she was telling me to write down as I was writing it.
Says last night on November 11th at 8:45 p.m., my dad and I were watching TV. We disagreed on a show. I stood in front of the TV. My dad got angry and picked me up by my shirt and body slammed me down to the floor. True, he stood in front of the TV. True, we disagreed on a show. Then, say, picked me up by my shirt and body slammed me down to the floor. That part was not true at all. The way she manipulates is she will take a small grain of truth about something that happened and then frame it in such a way that suits her agenda, that makes her look good. The judge immediately took him out of my custody and gave him back to Kimberly.
My relationship with my mom was very weird.
Jamie, come have a seat.
One moment she's saying, come sit on my lap and watch TV with me.
How's school been going? Good, yeah.
And then let's say I get a stain on my shirt.
What is this?
The entire mood would change. She would just flip the script super quick. And, she would start yelling at me.
What, are you a slob or something?
and call me horrible names. And I would say back, you know, I hate you. I never want to see you again.
I hate it here. I want to live with Dad. Oh, you want to live with your father? Fine.
And so I got out of the house.
Mom!
She locked the door. And I was in some athletic shorts and a t-shirt, and it was freezing cold. I don't even know how long I was out there. I probably was out there for hours. But I remember calling my dad and saying, hey, please come get me. Please come get me.
Hey, Daddy, it's me. I'm outside my house. Could you just please call back this number? It's Jamie. Bye.
A lot of the time when I would call him and say, please come get me, he would say, well, I can't, because that would be violating the court order.
If I go against, the agreement, then it will make it even harder for him to ever come live with me. There were even times when I had called the police department and talked to them, and they said, well, this is not a criminal matter, there's nothing we can do. That's the cruel irony of it, is that he has to be obviously injured, badly injured, in order for me to take some kind of action. And by then, it's kind of too late.
Do you think this is funny, huh? Do you think this is funny? Stop it! It's not funny!
And she lost her mind.
Do you like it?
She said, if you ever tell anybody, I will kill you. I remember it was picture day at school, so she, makes me put on a colored shirt, makes me wear nice shorts, make sure my shoes are white. Or my mom would part my hair down the middle and use, half a bottle of hairspray. And, that was kind of a dorky haircut. When I get to the school, I just hated wearing that hair so much, just wanted to mess it all up.
Did you get the pictures?
She paid about $40 for the brand new school pictures, all different sizes. They ended up coming in and my hair was messed up and she lost her mind.
This is an embarrassment.
How could you do that? You're a stupid moron, stuff like that. And eventually it got to the point where she started pinning me up against the wall and smacked me like 30, 40 times as hard as she could.
No, I paid for these. What is wrong with you? Do you think that this is funny? Do you like looking like a slob?
I was never punched in the eyes or the face. I was always punched like in the ribs or the stomach or the arms because, my mom would make sure that people didn't know what was going on behind the scenes.
And now you know what happens when you don't do what I tell you.
One thing that I really regret is not saying anything to my dad. He didn't really know about all this stuff that was happening because I never really tell anybody. I just kind of kept it a secret for many, many years.
Over the years, he would come to my house when I would ask him about a bruise or an injury or whatever, and he would say, yeah, I was wrestling with my brothers or whatever. And he was a pretty rambunctious kid, so it was really hard to know what, if any, bruises were attributed directly to Kimberly's treatment of him.
I did my mom's laundry and my laundry and my brother's laundry, and I cleaned the kitchen and cooked dinner sometimes. And, it's a lot to do. And if those things didn't get done, she would get really angry. I was doing laundry.
Did you fold your clothes?
And I put my clothes in the drawer. And I just crammed them in there. I didn't fold them at all. And she always wanted me to fold the clothes perfect.
Nope. Exactly what I thought. stand up. Stand up.
I remember her yelling and screaming at me.
And all of these. You're gonna do it over again. Do you understand me?
She was gonna lock me in the room. When you have a lock on a door in a room, that's usually on the inside of the room. But what she did is she unscrewed the doorknob and switched the lock to the outside of the room. So I couldn't get out. And she kept me in that room for hours. It was past dinner time. I would say, hey, I really have to go to the bathroom. And she would make me wait. I had finally decided that, I couldn't hold it anymore, so I kicked out the screen guarding the window, and I just decided I was going to pee out of the window. That's not normal at all, but I thought that that's how you got grounded as a kid. Things were not good between my mom and I. I was trying to play video games to pass the time. That Xbox was the only thing that could keep my mind off of being stuck in that house. And my mother was getting on my case about playing too many video games.
What's your problem?
My problem? My problem is that you're standing around all day.
Whatever.
And she unplugged it. And I just got super angry, like more angry than I probably have ever been. And I took the Xbox and I threw it outside of the window. And that's when things escalated. She took the cord of the Xbox and wrapped it around my neck and started to pull back. It was just blind rage. All you can do is just feel scared and helpless, and that you hope the person behind you doing that to you will stop. Zach got up and said, please stop choking him, because he saw that I was starting to grasp for air. 5 seconds more, gonna pass out or die maybe. She stopped, and I think I was able to get my phone after that and called the police and got the police involved. I was under the impression that cops are there to help you.
I'm so sorry, officers. I don't know what to do. He's out of control.
She's lying.
Quiet, okay? We'll get to you in a second.
But when you have a parent like mine who can, weave in and out of words and mess with people's heads and manipulate people, I can't really blame the cops for being manipulated by my mom.
And that's when he just lost it. He just lost it.
And then what happened? Did he hit you or anything?
She would make sure that she was crying to make sure that she looked like she was the victim in that situation. And she said I was pushing her against the wall, and I was on top of her at one point on the ground. I was made out to be the sole bad guy in this situation. My mom was made out to be as a mom struggling against a disobedient child. The big thing about it was that she would have my brother involved, so it was 2 against 1 in that situation.
Zach, baby, you know what a monster your brother is, right?
My mom had basically told my brother to lie.
Sometimes he can be quite angry.
Zach, just like I did, faced a lot of abuse. I just remember seeing a confused little kid tearing his heart in half between helping his brother and staying loyal to his mom, and he felt that he had to follow with what she was saying.
Whenever they get into fights, he kind of loses control of himself.
And that's what Zach told the police. I don't blame him for that. I don't blame him for that at all, but I definitely blame my mom for manipulating the situation to her advantage. Ended up, I got a citation, I believe, for an assault, but they ended up dismissing that. When I went back, she said, if you ever tell anybody, if you tell your dad, if you tell your teachers at school, if you tell your counselors, if you tell anybody, I will kill you. my vision started to go just ever so slightly black. I remember feeling that my mom was killing me. She wanted this picture to look normal. It may look like we're happy, but I definitely wasn't feeling that way on the inside. All I can see is the mother that I was trying to get away from. No matter how happy we look, that's all I see. I had gotten in trouble at school. I got called into the principal's office. And I remember I was just freaking out because they had to call my mom. All I knew is I didn't want to go home because I knew what was going to happen. So I ran away after school. I just went to this grocery store and tried to hide in the very back of the grocery store. And I stayed there until about 8 or 9 o'clock. All I wanted to do was just hide out, was just try to stay away from any harm that would come my way when I go home. Maybe somebody would help me. Maybe they'd see me back there and help me.
What's going on?
I ended up getting caught back there by the store manager.
You okay?
I remember trying to tell him that I'm scared to go home. Let me stay here for the night.
What's going on at home?
I don't feel safe anymore. She's crazy.
I think we need to call the cops and let them help you out.
No, please don't do that.
No, all I knew is I didn't want to go home because I knew what was going to happen.
I promise. They're going to help you out.
He felt like he needed to call the police, and eventually, maybe 20 minutes later, 25 minutes later, I think the police finally came, and the police took me home after that. I think I ran away from home maybe 5 or 6 times. Each time the cops looked for me. They said, if you run away anymore from home, you're gonna get put in juvie. And I always felt like it was another stab in the back from the cops. My dad didn't know the real reasons why I ran away. He only knew what I was telling him. I remember the feeling of being stuck. That was the biggest feeling of them all, was, feeling like you're in a hole that you can't get out of. And I felt that no matter what I did, nobody was gonna help me. I was in my mom's room when I wasn't supposed to be. I was in her room.
What the hell are you doing?
She doesn't like it when anybody goes into her room.
I've told you a million times, right?
She pushed me. She got to the point of uncontrollable rage. And she was banging my head against the hardwood floor. And I turned over and she started choking me with her hands. My vision started to go just ever so slightly black. I remember feeling that my mom was killing me, basically. It's a hard thing to describe, your mother hurting you in the worst way possible. At that point, I had tried to fight back. Thank God she let go. I'd finally had enough, and I ran out of the house, contacted my dad, and he took pictures. And I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
This might be one of the most important pictures I've ever taken in my life. This incident, as horrific as it was, really enabled me to take actual action. Now I have something. I have something that I can pull you out of that.
The main reason I never told you all the years of abuse and stuff like that, is I just felt that if, I told you, somehow my mom would find out. She had threatened me that if I told anybody that I would die. And that's why I was just so scared all those years to really let you know what was happening.
For me, that feeling of guilt, is pretty heavy. Something I still feel a lot today.
I can't blame you for any of that.
I mean, I can tell you with 100% honesty that I did everything that I could possibly do.
And I believe you with all my heart, I really do.
Jamie, honey, I need you to pack your things.
My grandmother told me we need to go as soon as possible and that she'll tell me later what's going on. And my mom? I know it has something to do with my mom. I know she did something. I felt this horrible sense of anxiety. Like, I remember just feeling worried that Luke wasn't really safe.
Leave it. We can go. Let's go.
When I found out that she was suspected in a murder case, it was almost as if I knew it was always going to happen. I was visiting my mom every other weekend to see how Luke was doing, and I would try to go in there and play with him and make sure he was okay. I remember just feeling worried, but I was also trying to finally live a normal life with my dad as well. When my mother found Cherry as a babysitter for my younger brother Luke, I remember there was a lot of custody battles between my brother's dad and my mother. She had lost me, she had lost Zach, and now she was losing Luke, her last son. Cherry Walker was a really, really genuine, nice, good person. She really adored and loved Luke a lot.
It's a picture of Cherry Walker. She was a lovely person. She was kind of a pure soul in so many ways. I can't help but to look at her as kind of a martyr for us, a symbol of the hideousness of what Kimberly did. I remember it so clearly. My phone buzzed, and I looked down, and it was Kimberly's mother. And she said, do you know Cherry Walker? Her body was found burned out in the country. Literally, my first words were just, no. I mean, it was kind of mind-numbing almost. It was so surreal. Kimberly was the number one suspect from the very minute they discovered who Cherry was.
If you were the captain, what would be your name?
There was a CPS hearing, and Cherry was subpoenaed. So once that happened, I think Kimberly just became desperate.
How fast is Mach 2?
1,000.
And so in order to prevent her from testifying, Kimberly, killed her.
Yeah?
Kimberly's version of the events was that she picked up Cherry Walker to talk to her about her testimony in the upcoming CPS trial, that Cherry had a seizure and that she stopped breathing and then went driving around for a while to try and figure out what to do. She decides that she needs to take her out in the country, took some lighter fluid out of the back of her car, squirted it all over her body, and lit her on fire. The first
time I had seen my mom since the news, and the last time I've seen my mom at all was when I took the stand. They make you stand up, say your name, point, and say, "I recognize Kimberly Diane Cargill." I saw a woman who was broken beyond repair. I remember her eyes were like steel, like just cold, lifeless. That's all I could see was the eyes of a murderer.
In their closing arguments, the state prosecutors told the jury that Cargill was a liar, a killer, and a monstrous child abuser. They then urged the jury to sentence the death penalty when deciding her fate.
I didn't realize how much of an impact my testimony would mean, and I felt really bad because I wouldn't want anybody to die because of me. But I just felt like justice had been served. That finally, all the years and years of abuse, all the times I'd call the police, all the times that she had hit me or my brothers, I felt like all of that finally came to an end. I got in fights at school, I got in fights with my dad, I acted out, I didn't want to go to counseling, I didn't want to go to therapy. I used heroin just to numb it. And eventually I decided that I need to turn my life around or I'm going to end up just like my mother. I decided to go to rehab, and I've worked really hard to, build a career for myself. I've gone to culinary school and graduated with honors. When I learned I was going to be a father, I looked forward to having a baby. I'm going to make sure he has all the things that I didn't have. I know with all my heart that he'll be loved and he'll be cared for. And for the rest of his life, he'll love his parents and he'll know that they treated him properly and good and loved him.
This is a picture of Kimberly when she's in prison. I feel like I don't know this person. I think of her as Kimberly the murderer, not so much Kimberly the mother of my child.
People ask me, do you want to see your mother again? And I almost always give the same response, and I just have no interest. I just want to move on with my life and try to forget that it ever happened. It's a chapter in my life that I'm planning on closing. My mother has sent me a lot of letters, maybe 30 or 40 letters during her time of incarceration. Oftentimes she'll mention how she'll be found innocent, or the truth will finally be heard and she'll be set free. And, that just reminds me that, maybe she's where she belongs.
It's very hard to believe that I'm here. It's too painful. How can you even understand what happened to me? The shame is so hard. You never get over this. I want to hide, but when you hide for so long, it catches up with you. Have someone lie to you for your whole life, it made me question everything. I didn't realize that there was so much evil around me.
We recovered the bodies. Certainly there was physical force used against each of them.
Ambulances were everywhere. I couldn't understand what had happened.
Each day, investigators look for more evidence against their prime suspect.
But I had no idea that my life was in more danger. Sorry. I don't want to cry. My father was very much a family man. His name was William, and everybody else called him Bill. We did a lot of family camping and fishing. Those are my fondest memories when I was a child.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, kiddo, what's up?
Are you going fishing?
I am.
I am the youngest of 5, and I was a typical daddy's girl.
Can I come?
Sure you can. Go up to your room, get your reel.
When I was little, my dad was everything.
What is all of this?
We're just going out of the lake for a while.
But my parents were like oil and water. They were extremely toxic.
So you expect me to sit at home all day and watch the kids until you get home?
My mother never bonded with me. She was very wild, my mother. She drank a lot.
I don't understand why you can't spend a little more time at home.
You expect me to make you dinner every night too?
The drinking was probably the reason they had so many relationship problems.
You're never here, you're never taking care of them.
Look at you!
And they fought all the time.
Why don't you just go back to the bar where you live?
My mother was a free spirit, and she was never going to be controlled.
I am done!
She would go out drinking and partying, and she didn't seem to want to be a mom. I looked at my dad as the good person. I felt like my father was the one trying to keep the family together.
Sorry.
When my parents would fight, and they fought all the time, sometimes she would pack up the house, and she would pack like dishes and sheets and blankets and things that we really needed and leave. My brother was kind of a mama's boy, and he was like, "Mom, don't go."
Mommy, wait!
Let go!
But I want to go with you.
Well, I don't want you to.
And she's like, "I don't love you anymore."
Stop! You're whining!
When will you be back?
I won't.
I really was not upset as much as my siblings when my mother would leave, because I never really had that close bond with my mother. But for him, it was very hard. My father would be upset, of course, and call my grandmother. So she would come over and bring everything we needed. Eventually, my mother came back. We never really talked about it again. For us, it was so common, it almost became normal. I always thought my mother was the one that was trying to tear the family apart, and that my father was always trying to keep us together. Their fights, to me, became scarier. My parents would say things like, "If I can't have them, no one will." We became something that you kind of do tug of war over. I remember one incident. I woke up to my parents fighting.
I've had it!
Yeah, you want to leave? Fine, go. It's not like you're ever around
It
here
was a
anyway.
very intense fight. My parents were in front of me.
But you're not going to take it with you.
Oh, no!
And my mom had a gun. And she was saying that she was going to kill us if he didn't let her have us.
Are you insane?
I mean it. Back away.
I think that was the first time I was ever scared, like really terrified of my parents.
You're insane!
I'd rather see them dead than with you!
If you
think about almost dying. That's how scared I was as a little girl. We often slept together. All the girls slept in one bed, and all of us just wanted it to stop. We just hugged and held each other and cried.
What is the matter with you? What is the matter with you?
They fought back and forth over the gun, and my father got the gun away from my mother.
Hey, you get out of here! Now, go!
In my eyes, my dad was a hero. He saved us that night.
Why was Mommy doing that?
I don't know. Don't worry, I am never gonna let her harm you. Never. Alright?
So at a young age, I really bonded with my dad as someone that was always going to protect me and never hurt me. So I started trusting everything that he said to me. A few months later, I remember being woken up by my mother. She put us in the car.
Everybody just needs to shut up and get in the car. Come on.
And I didn't understand where we were going. Why were we leaving at night?
Hey, where are you going? Get back here!
And I remember that feeling, being terrified. I mean, we were screaming. My father ran out of the house, trying to get her to stop, to take off with us. And she just kept going. My mother had taken us to a home that was in the Ocala National Forest. She hid us in the woods, basically. She didn't want my dad to find us. She wanted to keep us. I didn't know my father didn't know where I was. We were there maybe a few weeks, couple of months. During the day when my siblings were in school, I would be out front playing. And all of a sudden I saw my father again and I was excited.
Daddy!
Hey, sweetie.
My father found us. And I remember feeling a sense of relief that I was home again.
Oh my gosh, are you okay?
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Okay, where's everybody?
At school. Mommy's inside.
Let's go get them and go home.
After that incident is when my mother lost custody of us, and I went to live with my father. It was like she was gone. My mother had no rights as far as being in our lives, and I thought that my life was always going to be great, that I would never have to worry anymore or be scared. But I had no idea that my life was in more danger. After my parents had separated and he got custody of all of us, my mother had lost all rights to us, no visitation. I think that's when my bond for my father really, really grew strong. I don't talk to my mother. There's no bond there. My father was the one that was going to save us. I was going to have a normal life. Most of all, no more fighting. This is how I remember him as a little girl. One story really sticks in my head. One day, we piled into the car and drove my sister to Jacksonville to an Alice Cooper concert.
Dad, we're gonna be late.
No, we're not.
Cut it out! Stop! Stop!
There was 5 of us. So I was whiny, and my dad was just very angry and very frustrated.
You started it? I'm gonna end it.
No, I'm gonna end it. Knock it off.
Come on.
Be quiet.
No. Nothing. I started it. No.
The next thing I remember is that I woke up. Ambulances were everywhere. I couldn't understand what had happened. All I remember is lights and people just all over the place. And my whole family was just lined up on the road. I thought they were dead. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't hurt other than a little cut. But my one brother was really bad. He had a head injury that he had to learn how to walk and talk again. My one sister had a concussion. Another sister, her scar was almost like a horseshoe on her forehead. My brother that was in the front seat, he was in a complete body cast. He had broken both of his femurs. My father broke his ribs. The steering wheel went into his chest. My father said he had fallen asleep and the car ran into a huge cement boulder on the side of the road.
I don't remember anything.
But my mother, she blamed my father for that accident. She was saying that my dad did it on purpose, that he was trying to kill us all.
This was no accident. He did this on purpose.
My mother knew from my dad's past. When my father was 3 months old, his father had done the same thing to him and his mother. He ran into something to try to kill them all. It was too similar to not be on purpose, but because my mom drank a lot, because of her past behavior, they didn't believe her.
He's trying to kill them.
They just kind of brushed her off. My mother versus my stepmother were like the opposite. My mother was, the drinker, but my stepmother was Susie Homemaker. She kept a really clean house. She loved to cook. She was a really good Southern cook. But about 2 years after they were married, I kind of realized that she wasn't as nice and loving as I thought she was gonna be.
All right, I'm gonna go out for a little. I'll see you later.
Where do you think you're going?
Just out.
Oh no, you're not.
Sometimes my stepmother would say, you're nothing, and you're not gonna be anything, and you're like your mother, and that was hurtful to me.
You're just like her. Irresponsible.
I remember one time my father came home and my stepmother was complaining about us.
Hey, what's going on in here?
He didn't want to hear what she had to say. He started yelling at her and telling her that he was tired of her complaining about his kids.
So I get it. So your kids are all perfect? And mine are all problems.
There are rules, and she needs to follow them.
He was so angry with her, but he took it too far.
If I say it's all right, then it's all right.
Well, it's not all right.
You could see he just wanted to rip her apart, becoming very violent with her. He had this rage in his eyes. He was really scary. He was a different person at that moment.
What I say goes, and don't you ever dare tell me what I'm gonna do.
My brother was able to break them up, and my stepmother ran out of the house and ran away. He went to the bedroom. I can only assume he went and got his gun, and then he came in the living room and said, I'm gonna go get your mother, I'll be back. I had never seen him like that. I was really worried what he was going to do to my stepmom. It was a couple hours later when they came back.
Hey.
It was never talked about, but something happened when he left. She was hurt. I remember my stepmom put ice on her neck and was holding her neck. I believe that maybe he might have strangled her or hurt her neck or held her down or something, and that's why she came back. It took a while for things to get back to normal after that incident. I looked at my father differently. It took me a little bit to forgive him because I had never seen him snap like that. But because I was a daddy's girl, it didn't last. We did laundry every day with my father and my stepmother. It was like Brady Bunch. There was 9 of us, and the girls would do all the housework. One time, my sister was doing the wash, and she had noticed that my dad had blood all over his shirt and his pants.
Hey, Robin. What's that? Looks like blood.
And so she asked him, what happened?
Hey, Dad.
Yeah. What?
What happened to your clothes?
And he got really mad at her and very short with her and said I cut my finger, don't worry about it.
Well, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
How'd you cut yourself?
Does it matter?
It was weird that there was so much blood. I don't think, unless you really cut your finger really good and have a lot of stitches, that there would be that much blood all over your clothes. But she didn't question him after he had told her that he cut his finger. We never questioned my father. If he said something, okay, that's what happened. And we never thought anything bad of my father.
I mean, just finish up and come on and help with dinner.
But now looking back on it, we wonder what really happened. I really think my father got enjoyment out of watching us clean up after him. I had no idea the evil that was really in my life at the time. My father just started acting differently. But I didn't realize that there was so much evil around me. My dad would often, about once a year, say it's time to leave. The first time, I was surprised when he told me we were moving because I was helping my father fix up the house that we had bought for a remodel. I thought we were going to stay there for a long time, and I didn't really want to move.
Be careful with those.
But my father never explained why we moved. He would just say, we're moving, and that was it.
I still don't understand why we have to move.
It's just time for a change.
From middle school to high school, we moved about 12 or 13 times, all around the county.
Do we need the money?
No.
Then why can't we stay?
Because we can't. Just stop wasting time and get back to it.
No one was really questioning my father. It didn't seem to bother my stepmother, and my siblings weren't saying anything. And my father would buy used cars randomly. About once a year, he would come home with a new car. And I never understood why he would sell that car or trade it in for a new one, but he would. None of it made sense to me. financially, we couldn't afford to do these things. It would make things harder for us. I get extreme anxiety when I move now. I connect moving to running. When we would move, we would go find a new church. For a few years, it seemed like we went to church all the time. I think it was important for my father to have a certain image in church. He would help people. He would do things for people. He was kind. People would think good of him, and it made him feel like he was getting away with things. He hid behind church, so nobody would really see my father for who he really was. That's how good my dad was at hiding his evil from everybody.
Hey.
I remember one time I was waiting for my boyfriend.
Hey.
And my dad was like, hey, I want to talk to you in the bedroom.
Hang on a second. I just want to talk to you about something. It'll just take a minute.
I didn't know what my father was going to say to my boyfriend. And I became worried and concerned and confused why my father was pulling my boyfriend into another room to have a talk with him. I couldn't really hear what was going on in the room, but it wasn't long that they were in there together. After they came out of the room, my dad just went and sat on the sofa like nothing. And then my boyfriend and I got in the car and left. And he was very quiet. And I asked him what happened. Like, what did he say? What's going on?
What did he say to you?
Nothing.
Seriously, what did he want?
My boyfriend said that he threatened him.
He said if I step out of line, he'll kill me.
He said to him, you can disappear and no one will find you.
He was really creepy about it.
I kind of laughed. I really never believed in a million years. I thought he was bragging, so I let it go.
It was just a joke. I'm sure he didn't mean any of it.
My dad was a good guy. He wouldn't do those things. Never did I think that he was really serious about doing anything threatening. My dad and my stepmom came to me and told me when I was 17 that they wanted to move again, but this time out of state. And for the first time, I stood up and said, no, I'm gonna stay in one school until I finish. My father left me with my sister and my niece, and I ended up marrying my first husband and starting my own family. I found out that my stepmother had cancer, and she was very ill for about 2 years. After my stepmother died, my father just started acting differently. He took it really hard when she passed away. He really wasn't coping with it. It didn't seem like he was dealing with it very well. He was acting really strange. He was so jumpy and edgy and almost like something was eating at him. After my stepmother died, my father just started acting differently.
Hey, sweetie.
I had gotten married and started my own family, and one time he came over with a gift.
What's that?
Oh, I brought something I thought the kids might like.
He brought out this wig. It looked like a long, blonde Dolly Parton kind of wig. He wanted to know if I wanted this wig for the kids to play dress up.
A wig? Seriously?
Yeah. Come on, they're gonna love it.
I don't know if the girls are gonna want that.
My father had told me that he was in the mall and he stopped and put his name in for a drawing and he won a wig. And I thought at the time, how odd is that to win a wig?
Hey, how are you? Hey, sweeties. Oh, I brought you something. Ready? What do you think?
I thought it was an odd gift, but my kids immediately started playing with it. They thought it was great. He snuck his evil into my house. And I think he liked that we had no idea. On the weekends when I would go visit him, we would sit and talk about how he was feeling, emotionally, because I was really concerned after my stepmom had passed away.
Hey, Dad. Sorry I'm late.
Hey, honey. That's all right. It gave me some time to get some housework done.
And one of these times that I had went to visit my father, we had an odd conversation.
So, what's up with the burned-up mattress out by the trash?
Decided to just go ahead and buy myself a new one.
My father said to me I needed something a little more comfortable. And then he said to me I lit it on fire and burnt it.
So you set the old one on fire?
Yeah. What?
And I thought that was very strange. Like, why would you not just throw it away? Most people just throw it away at the dump. They don't burn it.
Dad, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. What?
The story did not make sense, and I started to think that he was losing it a little bit and really having a hard time coping with things.
You know what? Let's go and have a cup of coffee. I put a fresh pot on. Come on, sweetie. Come on.
I believe my father would tell us stories to test us to see if we could put it together, because if he could keep it from us, I think he felt like he could keep it from anybody. One time my father came over around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, which was late for him to come over. He was acting really strange. He was so jumpy and edgy and almost like something was eating at him. It was like he couldn't sit still. He was looking around, almost like paranoid. And my husband and I at the time really questioned, like, what, is he okay? What's going on with him? Why is he acting so weird?
He all right?
I don't know. He's been acting weird all night.
Neither one of us could come up with why he was acting like that. But all I could think of was he must have really had a hard time coping with my stepmom dying.
She's been gone for a while now, and I've never seen him like this.
We're gonna go tuck the girls in. You need anything?
No, I don't need anything. I'm fine.
Usually he would stay, and in the morning I would wake up and I would cook him breakfast. And we would hang out and he would play with the kids a little bit before he went home. But this time we got up and he was gone. I just found that very odd that my father would leave without really a goodbye or breakfast. He'd never done that before. That's not like my dad. We really started to worry about him. husband at the time was on the SWAT team, so he had a pager and he could be called at any time. We were out shopping and he had gotten a page from his sergeant.
Hold on, it's the station. I gotta go call it.
Okay. He went, made a call. I didn't think anything of it. And when he came back, he looked at me and I was like, what's going on?
Everything okay?
Actually, no.
And he told me that my father had been arrested for murder. My ex-husband told me that my father had been arrested because someone had gotten killed. I was so shocked, I couldn't believe it. I was told that my father was with a prostitute and they had gotten into a fight and she hit her head and he was afraid and dumped her body in a creek. When they put on the news about this woman that they had found, the cab driver recognized her and said, "Hey, I dropped her off at this house." And that's when they realized that he was the one that had killed her.
That can't be right. Are you sure they're talking about my dad?
They said they were gonna take him into custody.
My first thought was it was an accident. I never thought in a million years that he would do this on purpose. I was confused why he didn't call the police when it happened. And why did my dad try to hide it and cover it up? There was a detective that overheard the story about my father getting arrested, and my father's murder in North Carolina sounded very similar to some unsolved murders that he had going on in Florida.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I was still thinking that there had to have been a mistake.
No, that's not possible.
But the detective was telling me that the other unsolved murders were very similar to the one that my father had been arrested for. My father would pick these prostitutes up, take them to another location, kill them there, and dump them in different locations. I had a hard time believing what they were saying to me.
There must be some kind of mistake.
Not only are you wrong about the first one, but there's no way that he's been killing most of my life. And then, of course, it was on the news.
We recovered the bodies of 5 of the women. Most of these women were bludgeoned. Certainly, there was physical force used against each of them.
Each day, investigators look for more evidence against their prime suspect, William Lindsay.
I didn't believe any of it. Whatever they said to me, no, until I read his confession. It's really hard to look at these pictures. My father said that he would go to find his victims where there were a lot of drugs and known prostitutes. I believe that he killed women that reminded him of my mother. That was how he dealt with his anger with my mom. He killed my mother over and over without actually killing her. The places that he had dumped a lot of the bodies were places that he took us all growing up to go fishing, to go camping. I know exactly where this place is. I was about 8 years old when I used to go fishing here. It was a way that he could go back to the crime scene and relive what he had done. I feel violated that he used a place that had a lot of joy and memories to do evil. All the moving, the cars, giving my children a wig to play with, it all fell into place. I felt that my whole life was a lie. That this person that I love so much wasn't that person, he was somebody else. When I see this picture, it makes me really sad. My father is not in this picture. I don't know who this person is. I had to train myself to unlove my father and to no longer be his daddy's girl. After my father was arrested, he had his second bout of cancer. And the last time that I saw him in prison, I knew it was going to be the last time I would ever see him. And I remember when they were wheeling him away, I just kept watching until he was gone. Talk about something else, please. I hate being a daddy's girl. I really hate it. I got a phone call that he had passed away. And I thought I was going to feel that a relief and no more guilt. But that's when it all the guilt fell on me. I felt like I had the burden of the things that he'd done. I felt like my dad kind of ran out on his sentence and put it on me. It was really hard for me to accept. I often ask myself if my dad loved me. And, oh God, I believe he did love us. I believe that there were two people. There was the good one and the bad one. And I think, unfortunately, the bad won a lot of times. I'm here because I hope I can let the victim's family know that there is remorse from the family. I'm sorry this happened to you, and I wish I could go back and change what happened, but you can't.
I know telling this story does not make me look good, because I did do really messed up things. But in telling it, at least I can show this isn't something that I sought after. The only way I'm actually able to talk about it is not because I'm better. It's because I'm still broken. I'm relatively cut off from any emotional engagement. I don't feel overly happy. I never feel overly sad. But it does make it easier to tell the story and get my side of this out there.
If we're to believe you, why didn't you call the cops when you could?
Well, honestly, I thought my mother would find out where the cops found her, and she had let me know in no uncertain terms that if I had told, she would kill me.
This, to me, is the face of my torturer. the abuse didn't give her the sense of control anymore. So, murder was the next step. I had a total of 5 siblings, 2 of which were half-siblings. That would be my older brother and sister, Howard, and Sheila. And then direct siblings, Sister Susan, younger brother Robert, and Sister Terry. She ruined 6 of us. There's not one kid that she birthed into this world that isn't broken or dead.
Hey guys, go outside. Let's go outside and play. Come on.
She would tell us on a regular basis that she didn't want any one of us. So now that she's stuck with us, she's going to make us do what she wants.
Be back before it's dark.
The extreme abuses didn't happen until my biological father had started another family. He was never actually present in our lives. Since we had no other place to go, we had no contact with our dad, we really tried to be the kids that she was expecting us to be. This is a picture of me in grade school. I don't have any actual color photographs of my sisters, either one. There's no family picnic photos. There's nothing like that. Looking back, I wish somebody would have kidnapped me. I was so unprepared for what was coming. My life was about to change dramatically. The beatings were part of growing up. On one occasion, we had been sent to our room in the middle of the day. She didn't want to hear us or see us. We weren't allowed to talk. We had to stay on our own beds. All I was doing was silently laying on my bed when Robert was on his. She burst into mine and my brother's room. She was berating us.
Are you laughing at me? Don't play dumb with me.
We didn't say anything.
I remember looking at Robert, and Robert's like, shrugged. He doesn't know what's going on. And she stopped laughing at me.
Everything I do for you, and you were up here talking about me.
Robert and I looked at each other. We were not laughing.
I know. You're up here, laughing at me.
Mom, I swear we're being quiet.
And she looked at me and said, your eyes were laughing at me.
What did I tell you about lying? Kids! Come hold your brother down.
She made Robert, Susan, all grab me.
No, stop!
At one point or another, all of the siblings were forced to hold down somebody. And if you lost your grip, or if you let go, or whatnot, you were immediately beat. She used what she called the Board of Education. It was a piece of wood from a construction site that she had wrapped a handle up with electrical tape so she wouldn't lose her grip on it.
This is what you get.
Whenever my mother would beat any of us, she would always say it was because she loved us. If she didn't love us, she wouldn't even bother. At a certain point, you internalize this. This is what love is. Love is control and beating. Once she was satisfied that I wasn't laughing anymore, and once I started to cry, she goes, there, now you're not laughing at me. You stay on that bed, that's where you're staying for the rest of the night, and she closed the door.
Everybody back to your rooms.
and we didn't have any outside exposure. We could never go to a kid's house after school, so we didn't actually see their family dynamics. There wasn't any questioning of it. This is what moms do. We just thought everybody was the same as us. She started getting more paranoid. In her mind, we were possessed. Demon possession. I recall one evening where we were in bed. We were all asleep. She got us all up out of bed because in her mind we had been faking asleep.
Keep moving in the living room. You know the drill. Go.
She lined us up and had us sit down, facing away from her. She didn't want to see us. She didn't want us to look at her.
Everybody on the floor.
We weren't allowed to fall asleep. We weren't allowed to speak, and we had to sit there all night facing away from her.
Robert, stay awake.
If somebody started to fall asleep, if their head started to bob, they got it with the board. If somebody tried to move their leg, they got hit. We had to sit there like statues. Sitting absolutely still for, I can't even tell you how many hours. When the sun came up, she says, okay, you guys can get up now. The demons had left us.
Hurry. Go upstairs.
We just chalked it up to Mom's weird. You know, this is just what she was becoming. My mom used to bar hop, and that's where she would meet guys and whatnot and try to have relationships. And she would always come home drunk. So one night after my mom had been out, she was very excited about showing us something.
I want to show you guys something. You're going to love this.
And she tells us a story about somebody that was at this bar that she was at, and rather than throwing darts, he breaks out a set of throwing knives. And she's like, look, I can throw knives. She started having us individually stand in front of her, and she would show how good she was at it by throwing the knives at us and missing us. We got scared at that point.
William.
She told me to stand against the wall, and I closed my eyes. I didn't want to see it. And it missed me, and I got out of there. But when it was Sheila's turn, she threw a knife and stabbed Sheila.
Sheila, you're next.
When it was Sheila's turn, she threw a knife and stabbed Sheila. The knife didn't actually stay, it fell out, and so she started bleeding immediately, and my mom immediately got angry at Sheila, saying she moved, she did that on purpose. You did that on purpose to make me look bad.
She moved, it's her own fault.
There was never an I'm sorry from my mother. I don't think my mom had remorse. I don't think she was empathetic at all. She did close the wound, butterfly bandage, it disinfected, all of that, and that was as close as you got to a motherly moment. But that was it. It was always our fault, not hers. And when she was done with us, we just ended up going to bed and not talking about it again. One morning, Susan ran away while I was doing my paper route. I returned from my paper route, and my mom asked me, where's Susan? And I was like, I don't know. She was here when I left.
Is your sister with you?
No.
None of us knew where she was, and my mom had a panic moment. My sister Susan was very bright. Susan knew something that the rest of us didn't. This can't be normal. There's a real problem here, and that scared my mom. Because she didn't know what Susan was going to do.
come in?
Child Protective Services showed up on our doorstep one day after Susan had run away. She told them about the abusive situation we were in. They just said all of us were going to have to do individual interviews, but my mom was in the room the entire time. And we knew what that meant.
Hi.
Hello.
William?
Yes.
Nice to meet you, William.
If you said anything that she didn't tell you to say, you were going to get beat again.
So, William, has your mother ever hurt you?
They asked us questions that we could not answer. Does your mom beat you? And you look immediately at your mom, and she's standing there shaking her head no. You're going to answer no.
No.
No? Have you ever seen your mother hurt one of your brothers or sisters?
No, ma'am.
And at the end of this investigation, they made the conclusion that Susan was just a runaway because she doesn't like being at home anymore. So they sent her home. It's a harsh realization, but we failed her. All of us as kids, we were scared, and we didn't know any better. She tried to do something, and we couldn't stand shoulder to shoulder and help her. I think it would have been very different if Susan had ran away and just stayed gone. But it didn't go that direction.
All right. Bye-bye.
You come with me.
Susan was immediately handcuffed to a table.
Don't tell people things. Leave this house. You do. No, give me your phone. Put it on.
She had socks over her hands, and it reduced marks. And that's where she stayed for probably the next couple of years. She was gagged. It was horrible. And it was under very heavy restrictions that the gag ever came out. She force-fed Susan. Susan was full. She made her eat more. If she threw up, she made her eat that. To see her handcuffed underneath the table was a constant reminder of the consequences. This is what happened when you go against our mom.
Let this be a lesson to all of you.
Running away didn't cross my mind because I had no place to go. The system had already failed, so I couldn't go to the system. Watching this escalation 100% reinforced the strategy for me to not make waves. She went to the school and told them that we were moving, never went to school again. But she wanted more money coming into the household, so at one point I got a job at a movie theater. I would have to walk or ride a bike to and from work. And she would drive past me to make sure I was going to work. I would see her car drive by me several times. She would never stop. She would never pick me up and drive me to work, but she would make sure I went straight there. My mother, on no uncertain terms, was absolutely stalking me and making sure I did what I was supposed to be doing at any given time. She escalated her control over me by doing these things. I'm thinking, this is just my life. This is the way it's going to be. If she would have found me deviating, I have no idea what would have happened. She hands Terry, who is the youngest, a .22 pistol. Terry's freaked. She's a kid. The gun goes off. This house was the whole world. This is where torture started. This is where everything disintegrated in our lives. This is where Susan was handcuffed to a table. Susan had already been under the table for quite a while. By that time, we were so brainwashed, controlled. We didn't know that anybody else was living any different. Susan was starting to gain pressure sores. So she would be allowed to be uncuffed for a period of time.
Knock it off.
But every night she was back under the table, and she was only let go when my mother allowed her to be.
You know the rules.
She was completely and utterly without a moment's peace that this had to end. One morning, my mom just woke up in a horrible mood and literally was yelling and screaming about so many things simultaneously.
Stop saying that!
We were being hit indiscriminately. Susan had been uncuffed and is taking this huge brunt of abuse.
I'm sorry.
At one point, she hands Terry, who is the youngest, a .22 pistol.
That's it.
Mom, please.
Hold this on your sister.
And she tells her if she even moves, you shoot her. Terry's freaked. She's a kid holding a gun.
William, come with me.
And my mother takes me down the hall and we start making oatmeal. I'm taking food down the hall to people. I've got bowls in my hand. The spoons fall over and clank. And when they clank, Terry jumped. And when she jumped, the gun went off. She shot Susan. Susan fell. She dropped the gun.
What did you do?
She doesn't want the blood to get on the carpet. She's not as concerned with Susan. She's not concerned about Terry at all. She doesn't want the blood on the carpet.
Boys, carry your sister out to the bathtub.
She makes Robert me pick her up, take her into the bathroom, and get her into the bathtub. She was not screaming or hollering. She was not, writhing. She was out. The gunshot was low in the abdomen. We didn't know what exact condition she was in, but we knew she wasn't dead. My mother said, everything is going to be fine. I know how to take care of this. She started to deliver some form of first aid. She's not trying to remove the bullet. She didn't actually stitch anything up. She used a series of gauze, tape, butterfly bandages, that sort of stuff to close the wound. I don't know if she gave her any pain relievers. I think she was just disappointed that Susan was wounded and not killed.
She's gonna be fine.
There was no thought about calling the police or calling an ambulance or calling anything else. We were just kids, and Mom's gonna handle it. She was in there for maybe a month. It was more or less like watching a horrible movie. It took a while for Susan to even recover to a certain extent and get out of the bathtub. But my mother put her right back under the table. Okay, handcuffed.
Let me go.
You did this to yourself.
Susan could not take it anymore. She started to beg and plead on a regular basis. I can't do this anymore. Let me just go. I won't go to the authorities. I will disappear forever.
I promise. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again.
And she tried doing this for an extended period, like over a year, where she was begging to get out. At some point, she had said it enough to where my mother actually started to entertain this idea. My mother actually said, okay, but I gotta take that bullet out of you. I'm not letting you leave with that bullet still in you.
Mom, no. Please. Mom. No.
That's evidence. I'm not letting that walk out of here.
No, Mom. No, William.
I came home from work to find Susan on the floor. She was out. She's got bandages on her. Terry was obviously shaken. Robert, he wasn't doing great. And Terry tells me that Mom had taken the bullet out of her.
She had to cut Susie open.
They'd used some sort of combination of alcohol and medication or whatnot to start the surgery, and she had possibly gone into some form of shock and passed out during this process. My mom comes out of the bathroom, and I looked at her, and she just simply says, "What?" As if to challenge me. "What do you have to say about this?" And I didn't say anything.
She wanted to leave. This is what it's going to cost.
There was no in-depth explanation, and she's like, "I've decided to let Susan go, but this is what we had to do to let her go. She'll be fine. She just needs a little time to heal up, and she'll be on her way."
Clean this mess up.
Weeks later, I came home from work again, and this time Susan wasn't on the floor. My mother immediately said, "We're going to drop Susan off, gather her stuff up."
Take this stuff and put it in the car.
It was certain minimal personals, some clothing, things of this nature. And Robert and I went out and we went to put them in the car. That's the first time I saw where Susan was. She was in the trunk of the car. So we gathered up the meager belongings that she had, and Robert and I take them outside. And that's the first time I'd seen that Susan had been moved into the trunk of the car.
What happened?
I was told that she was dead, that she had died on the floor. To be honest, I did not check. The only explanation from my mother was very dismissive. This is what Susan wanted. We had to take that bullet out, so here we are. Robert and I, we were scared.
Come on, everybody, get in the car.
She said, "Everybody get in, we're going for a drive."
Come on, now.
There was no questions, we got in the car. We start driving to a wooded area, so we're in the car for a while, and nobody has said even a single word the entire time. It's dark, it's nighttime, and she finds a place that is slightly removed from the highway. She says, "Okay, get everything out of the trunk." We moved the stuff out, and then we came back and put Susan. And Robert and I both thought we were just getting in and driving away. That's when my mom pulls out the gun.
Pour gas on everything.
Robert and I put gas on just the stuff. We didn't put any on Susan. She cocks the gun and says, "I said on everything."
I said everything.
And it wasn't like we had a choice. I don't think she would have hesitated to shoot Robert or myself. And then she throws me the matches and says, "You like that." And she has got the gun on me. I feel that the reason why she made me do it is because she wanted me to blame. You're the one who did it. I know she will shoot. And so I've got to strike a match and drop it. In my mind, she was already dead. I didn't light my living sister on fire. She was dead. But that's the only solace I can take from this, that this was not her burning to death. And then the gun, get in the car now. Leaving that situation was, I can't even put it all into words because all of us were so desensitized. But it was still hugely traumatic. You can't unsee that. But there was a sense of relief. She wasn't going to be tortured on the floor anymore. Her fight was done. We never talked about Susan again. We weren't allowed to mention her name. This is the last picture of my sister Susan. I can see a smile on her face. Maybe this was the last happy time she ever had. The only thing she wanted to do was try and help people, help us get out of this situation. I failed her. The system failed her. My other brothers and sisters failed her. She tried to do something for everybody and pay the ultimate price for it. My mother was psychotic. She needed somebody to torture. She needed somebody to beat on. And it quickly moved over to Sheila. One day, I walk in the middle of her beating Sheila.
Stop!
I started yelling, "Are you trying to kill her too?"
If you are, just get it over with. Stop torturing her.
What did you say?
And then my mom came at me and she was going to start beating on me. And I put my hands up and I said, No, you are not doing this to me anymore. That was a shift moment for me. It was scary.
You will never touch me again.
At this point, I was 15, and it was oddly exciting that I had actually stood up to my mom. I simply turned around and left. I did not go to the police. I didn't go to Child Protective Services. I did not want to be forced back into the home and end up where Susan was. By this point, this deep, it was every man for themselves. But I knew that I hadn't seen the last of my mother. They had obviously followed me, continued stalking me, and Robert said, "Mom needs you and you don't want her to come get you." When I walk in, my mom was there.
You asked to see me?
And she's all, "You created this situation, now you're going to have to deal with it."
You're responsible for this.
And it's like, "I haven't been here. What are you talking about? I created a situation."
Responsible for what?
She said, "Well, after you left, we had to put Sheila in the closet to shut her up." And I said, what's going on here? When my mother opened the door, Sheila was dead. What I had heard from Robert many years later is that she had cried and then begged and then pleaded to get out. And then she started to say things that didn't make any sense. And then she stopped saying anything. And she had left her in there for another day.
You're responsible for this.
Looking at her in that closet was just every worst thing that you can imagine. I thought I made the right choice at ending Sheila's beating with a very dramatic statement. Turns out I was wrong.
You're gonna help me make this go away.
This would be the last picture of my sister Sheila. Sheila she didn't hurt a fly, ever. At that point, I knew that I had failed again. It was just an amazingly harsh realization that nothing I did was going to make a difference. And that's looking at these pictures. Every one of them brings back another level of regret. Well, you'll hear so many people say, "Well, if I'd have been there, I would have." Well, I was there, and I didn't. And I regret that. And there's no way for me to go back and remedy it. I was too weak. she told Robert and I to get out of the car and dig a hole. Robert and I had gotten out and walked a little ways away from the car, and almost immediately a sheriff's car pulled in behind us. Robert and I hit the ground. There's no way he would have seen us. And he walked up to my mom's window. She rolled down her window, and he asked her what she was doing out here. She says, just been driving a while, pulled over to get some rest. But she seemed very, very comfortable with the situation. She didn't panic or get angry. And he said, well, you might want to move the car because it smells like there's a dead deer out here. He did not sense the smell was coming from the car. And then he walked back, got in his car, and turned around and drove off. And then she started the car and turned on lights. And then we just got right back in the car and drove away because she didn't want to have a record of her car being at that spot and then have them find Sheila. We actually went into a different county, to a different spot. She just told us, just take her out, set her off to the side, and get back in the car quickly. And so that's what we did. When the car was in park, I said, I can't do this, okay? If you're going to come after me, then come after me. I'm done with all of this.
That's it. I'm not doing this anymore.
And I got out of the car.
You think you could just walk away?
She definitely took the opportunity to, you're as guilty as I am in this. You were here, you did this.
Her blood is on your hands too!
Letting me know that if I try to go to the police, she's going to make sure that I go down too, but I'm not coming back for anything. Either kill me or leave me alone. After I was out, the first several years, I looked over my shoulder every day, all day. I would go to windows at the front of my job and see if I recognized any cars, see if I recognized any faces. Is Robert out there? Is my mother out there? I didn't hear from anybody for years. I had no contact. I didn't find out for many, many years that at a certain age they were all grown and out of the house.
Right over there.
And that's when 2 detectives had showed up at my work.
We're gonna have you come with us.
They put me in handcuffs and said I was being arrested for murder. This is a booking photo. This is me. Nobody expects to have one of these. I'm 25 years old here. 2 detectives took me into custody, and they said I was arrested for murder. They take me into this room, and they start showing me pictures of these places. This could have been the entry or the turnoff where Susan was, or this could have been where my mom turned off for Sheila. The police came aware of the whole story through my sister, Terry. She had gotten herself in trouble with the law several times over the years, and each time she was arrested, she would tell this story. And they started asking me questions, mostly about where my mother was when I had last had contact with her. And that's when I start to get an idea of what I'm actually being charged in connection with.
After launching a nationwide search, investigators found Teresa Jimmy Noor in Salt Lake City. She'd worked as a caretaker for an 86-year-old woman for over a year and just borrowed $4,600 from the woman's son. Detectives think she was planning to flee.
I was glad that they found her and that she was caught, but that didn't mean I was free. I was brought into the same courtroom as she was.
Accused killer and son number 1 is Robert Noor Jr. He's in a Nevada prison on unrelated charges, and we're told he won't talk with the cops. This is alleged co-conspirator and son number 2, 26-year-old William Noor.
They believed I was complicit. If you weren't guilty of this, why didn't you come forward? You've had 10 years to come forward. Why didn't you come forward? And the obvious, clear answer was, look at what happened to the people who did. Susan tried to come forward. She had gotten herself with Child Protective Services, and she's dead. So I just went about trying to live my life.
Noah remained passive throughout the hearing, but her son, charged as an accomplice, was uncomfortable. His attorney says seeing his mother makes him nervous.
Nervous is not the right word. I was caught so off guard by her being walked into that courtroom that I just broke all the way down. I couldn't breathe. I was sweating. This, to me, is the face of my torturer. And the guy next to me told him to get me out of there. After that day in the courtroom, I have not seen her again. It's obviously a recent picture of my mother. The fact that she would spend the rest of her natural life incarcerated was a relief. I never saw any sign of remorse for my mother, ever. I don't believe she's even capable of remorse. And there will never be a time in my future that I will ever want to have contact or see my mother again. He was already in jail in Ely, Nevada, for an unrelated crime. But when they interviewed him, he gave an almost identical statement to what I did. Robert and I spoke to each other one time while on a transport bus, and I don't know where he's at. We have not been in touch. I've had no further contact with him either. I've done a lot of work on myself in a lot of ways, and it's gotten better over the years. But I don't have the full connections to emotions like so many folks do. The biggest emotion that I have is absolute regret that I wasn't a better person. I still find difficulties in external relationships. I don't necessarily have a lot of friends. But my life today is very, very different. I have a wife and a beautiful daughter. I like to think I'm a decent dad to my kiddo. I think my daughter actually likes me. The day-to-days of my life are like anybody else's. I go to work, do the best job I can, go home, spend time with my family. We have what seems to be a pretty normal life. I can't explain my mother. I don't really want to try and understand her. I just want to be a better parent than she was, and I know that's setting the bar really low. But I want to be the type of person that when my daughter's older, I want her to be able to trust that she can still come home to Dad's house, feel safe. I want her to be the defining moment of my life, to show that I didn't continue the cycle of abuse. We were taught to be horrible people, but you can move past it and create a different future for somebody else.
Where do we draw the line on what we consider evil and who's capable of it? What Alec did, I can certainly understand what people would call that or him evil. My son did something more horrible than most people's children will ever do. But to dismiss him as simply an evil individual is ignoring a lot of the story. Turn my son in, go to the police, or betray everything I said my life is about, and lie or not come forward. He was my son. How can I turn my son in for this crime? How can I be the right thing? When you're in that mode of desperation, it's amazing where your mind will go. I was trying to imagine scenarios where I could help Alec get away with it, and perhaps, they would never find out. We could just run away from this. But it wasn't the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to come forward. How can I not do the right thing? This is a picture of me with my boys. Alec was maybe 7 or 8. Alec was a typical child a lot of times. This photo just shows a happy young boy who's hanging out with his little brother and his dad. A happy little boy that, I often remember before things kind of turned darker. There's often moments I look at a picture and go, I can't believe this happened. I should have seen it coming. I should have done something to stop this. But for me, it wasn't that different from a lot of different. But somehow, somewhere, something, went wrong. Alec's mother and I had 3 children. My oldest is a daughter, and then Alec was my oldest son, and I have a younger son. Even from the day he was born, he had an edge of anger to him that my other 2 children didn't. It was more intense. And disciplining Alec was really challenging because he didn't care about it.
Hey, Alec, it's time to go to bed.
One time, it was time to stop playing a game, and he decided he didn't want to stop playing a game, and he got defiant and just wouldn't listen.
You need to stop playing and get into your pajamas. I'm gonna count to 3.
We used 1, 2, 3 magic discipline. You count to 1, you count to 2. When you get to 3, that means you're going to have to go into timeout. I started counting 1, and he threw his arms back by his side, stared at me straight in the face, said 2, 3, and just stood there and stared at me. Like, what are you going to do now? He didn't care that I was his dad.
I'm not going to bed. I want to keep playing.
Don't take that tone with me.
He was just being really belligerent and talking back and yelling at me. And I said, you speak to me that way again, I'm going to take one of your favorite toys.
I don't care. Take them. Take all of them.
Then he refused to calm down, continued to behave in that way, and each time I said, I'm going to take another one of the toys you play with.
I'm not going to bed, and you can't make me. I don't care about that stuff. Take all of it.
And eventually I had basically every toy that he played with that he kept in his room in a garbage bag. I said, you'll get them back when you apologize. And he never did, never asked for a single thing back. And I got to the point where I figured, well, this was kind of pointless because he doesn't care. Literally, it was probably a month later, I just finally put it back in his room because it had no impact. I felt kind of helpless, frankly, as a parent because I had no idea what to do to try and deal with him when he was in one of those moods. On the other side of that coin, I thought that the strong will that he had would serve him really well if we could channel that into a constructive way. When Alec got really angry, it was as if he almost lost control of who he was. Anything could set Alec off, if he didn't want to do it. It could be as simple as picking up his toys or coming to dinner if he didn't want to.
We each have a job to do, buddy, so you need to help too.
I don't want to.
I know you don't want to, but you have to.
No.
Yes.
I don't remember what it was about, but whatever it was, he was so furious. He was kind of just on the edge of kind of losing it.
Alec, you're not listening.
We sent him to his room, closed the door. It was frankly pretty quiet. And we kind of heard this crashing sound.
Is he okay?
I'll check it out.
I'm sure everything's fine.
He had punched out the window in his bedroom. First response was, "Are you okay?" He was fortunate enough and didn't cut himself or hurt himself.
What were you thinking?
I just got angry.
And I thought, well, I need to teach him a lesson. He had been saving his birthday money, his allowance money, Christmas money to buy a guitar.
You can't, that's my money.
I know, but you need to learn that your actions have consequences.
We sat him down, told him that you broke this window, you're going to have to pay for it. He was really kind of upset and devastated about having to pay for that window.
That's no fair!
And I felt like the worst parent in the world.
I'm sorry.
I just didn't know what to do with him. But then there'd be all this good behavior. So you think, okay, that good's gonna eventually outweigh this darkness. Alec did not have a lot of friends, but Alec and his little brother played a lot of games together.
Go down! I'm trying.
The majority of the time, they had a nice brotherly relationship.
Well, I'm gonna play the other guy. No, don't!
But when his little brother would make a mistake or something bad would happen in a game, sometimes Alec would lose it.
You made me die!
I came in one time and he was straddling his little brother. And he kind of had his arms around his neck or on his shoulders.
Alec!
You could really see that he was struggling to control himself. That he was so angry, it almost felt like he really wanted to hurt somebody. He really ought not to, so he didn't. And I think that's the part that alarmed me the most, that it felt like he was close to losing that last little bit of control he maintained when he got really angry.
We don't hurt people. You have to find a way to cool down in those moments.
I was trying to talk to him. Nobody can make you angry. You get angry on your own. I said, if your little brother does something that you don't like, your anger is you make a decision to get angry over that.
Tell your brother you're sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't have any siblings, and I talked to people who had brothers and sisters, and they said they fought like cats and dogs, so I didn't take it as an overwhelming concern at the time.
Why don't you go cool down in your room for a little while? You okay?
But the anger inside him was irrational. And how to release that anger was what he struggled with. I can't believe he used this knife. I would have never imagined that what happened would have happened with that knife in the hands of my son. When Alec was little, what most of us consider for the most part harmless little things would just set him off. It might sound silly, one of the biggest things we had to walk on eggshells about was depending on what we ate for dinner.
It's actually really good today.
What are you guys working on now?
There's one night we're having something with potato chips. And his little brother was sitting beside him, and he started eating his chips. And I could see Alec glance at him out of the corner of his eye. The noise of the chewing would really get him agitated. He would stare at the table and he would just shake his head. Sometimes he would clench his fist and just put him on the table. It was almost like it was intolerable for him. It seemed like when he got so upset at his little brother that it was almost like he wanted to hurt him. Instead, he just kind of got disgusted, pushed himself away from the table, and left the room to go finish his meal. He couldn't stand being in the same room with all of us eating potato chips. I tried to talk to him numerous times about why the chewing bothered him. He didn't know why it bothered him, it just did. And the hard part as a parent, when does it cross over into an area where you really need to be concerned? And when is it the behavior or the attitude something that, wow, this is really a problem? I don't know. I don't know. When Alec's brother and I split up, he would have been right around 10 years old. We worked out a joint custody relationship, so it was 1 week at my house and then 1 week at their mother's house. Alec's reaction to divorce was kind of typical Alec. He said, well, it makes me angry. So I thought, okay, we've had these issues with his anger. Let's see if we can get him into some kind of counseling or therapy to help him deal with that anger. And he was in counseling for quite a few months. The therapist seemed to help. He was improving, he was getting better. His outbursts were not nearly as frequent as younger. We would go out and visit my father and my grandfather in the house that I grew up in. We went out to visit one time, and I was going through things, just reliving some nostalgia.
Hey, Alec, take a look at all this stuff I found.
And there was a small knife that I had that I used as kind of my hunting knife when I was a kid.
Your grandfather gave it to me.
And Alec thought it was really neat. He said he really liked it. That knife was given to me by my dad, so I told him, well, if you like it,
And now I would like to give it to you.
you may have it.
Would you like that?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like father handing down to his oldest son, just a token of my childhood.
Now remember, this is a tool.
But made it pretty clear it's not a toy, it's not something you play with. You need to be responsible with it. If you ever do anything irresponsible with this, whether towards somebody or anything, and you're going to lose it, I'll take it back.
I won't, I promise.
He said he understood. It just didn't seem like a big deal at the time.
Now help me with this stuff, okay?
And it looks like the knife that I gave Alec. It was just part of my childhood I was trying to hand down to my son. It's like, a generational thing. I would have never imagined that what happened would have happened with that knife at the hands of my son. I can't believe he used this knife. My biggest concerns for Alec occurred when he was getting into that 14, 15-year range when I saw his mood changing. Yeah, these are photos of Alec in 4 consecutive years that I came across a little while after all this happened. It'd be striking to me the change I saw in Alec in these photos. Look at the one in 7th grade. There's this, fun little smile, relax. But then something shifted. You look at his 9th grade photo, there's this little smile, but it's almost more of a smirk, like he didn't even want to smile, but he made a little bit of effort. Then you go to his photo that, in 10th grade, shortly before all this happened, there's not even a pretense of a smile. When he got at 14, 15, he seemed depressed. He started to go to his room a little more often, less interacting with the family. But how much is that a teenager just wanting to do his own thing? It didn't seem uncommon. He's just a typical teenager. He'll be all right. All right, these 2 photos are from Alec's 16th birthday party. There's only 2 pictures here because he was in a very unhappy mood that day. It wasn't the celebration we anticipated. Most young people, when they turn 16, it's a pretty big deal. They're pretty excited.
Oh, you guys got into the cake, huh?
We had a birthday party for him, and he was just really unhappy, kind of brooding, just didn't even want to celebrate.
Hey, Alec, why don't you come in here and open some presents?
I certainly encourage him to even come to the table and participate. He was just so dark. Not angry dark, just miserable. Didn't want to be there, didn't want to celebrate his birthday, open his gifts, didn't care what he got.
Oh, that's nice.
Try that, honey.
Like life was too much effort to just even be there. So we just kind of let him open his presents, had some cake, and
I'll be in my room.
I think he just went off to his room.
If you'll excuse me, I'll be right back.
So I went up to check him, knocked on the door. Hey, what's going on? Can you come down a little bit?
Hey, buddy, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You don't seem fine.
But when I try and talk to him about what are you feeling, what's going on, he's having these dark thoughts, and he just doesn't want to share them, and I wouldn't understand, and things like that.
Is there something bothering you?
You wouldn't understand.
He would just speak in generalities and vagueness. But it was enough to let me know he was struggling. He didn't know what to do with it.
I don't really want to talk about it anymore.
I wasn't sure if it was just 16-year-old boy angst or something deeper. But at the end of the day, I really had no idea how dark his feelings were and what he was really struggling with, how big the conflict really was. Somebody came to our door and rang our doorbell, and I opened up, and it was a couple police officers. They just kind of showed up and asked to speak to Alec. Alec didn't have a big friend base, but his one friend was Kevin. He was an extremely polite young man. Every time I was around him, he would be courteous. I mean, he was involved in the Boy Scouts, went to church. They had fun just hanging out and doing teenage boy stuff. Kevin had an older sister, and Mom, she taught Sunday school. Dad was a salesman, and just a wonderful family. It was almost like Leave the Beaver.
Hey, Dad. Would it be okay if I slept over Kevin's tonight?
Sounds good. You guys have fun.
Alex spent a fair amount of time in their home, and he would often go for sleepovers. It seemed like it was a very good friendship. And so I was really happy that, Alec had Kevin as a friend. It was spring Saturday day. I was going to pick up my daughter at her mother's house for a belated birthday lunch.
Honey, hey, what happened?
My daughter opened the door and she was crying. It wasn't kind of the greeting I was expecting, and I asked her what was the matter, and she told me that somebody had killed Kevin.
They were dead. Him and his parents.
Not only was Kevin killed, but so were his mother and father. So they were all three killed the night before. Apparently it was a relatively gruesome crime scene. Kevin's sister heard commotion, and she ran for help, called the police. That's how she escaped. Police had no idea who had done it.
It's going to be okay. I'm sure they'll find whoever did this.
My first reaction was kind of disbelief. I mean, we had just been with Kevin and his father a few days ago, so it was kind of shocking to hear that, something had happened to Kevin. So I asked if Alec was around.
Is your brother here? How's he doing?
He's up in his room. Won't come out.
I was very worried that this would push Alec over that edge where he would just finally lose it, break down, and not be able to handle it. Losing one of his best friends could be really, really difficult for him right now.
Yeah.
He's up in his room. So I went up to check him, knocked on the door, heard this, very audible yeah, and went in, and he's laying on his bed, and he was crying and seemed really upset.
Alec, I'm so sorry.
I asked him how he was doing, and I just got like this really audible okay.
Okay, I'm fine.
I tried to talk to him. Dad, I'm okay, I'm fine. He wouldn't talk about it. And he just dozed off, just fell asleep, sitting there with me. In retrospect, I don't see anything in that behavior that would have sent me any kind of alarm or concern.
Good evening, sir.
A few days after the murder, somebody came to our door and rang our doorbell, and I opened up, and it was a couple police officers.
Mr. Kreider, is your son home?
Yes.
We'd like to have a word with him.
Sure. Come on in.
They just kind of showed up and asked to speak to Alec.
Do you know anyone that would want to hurt Kevin?
Not really that I can think of, no.
I sat close by. I just want to hear what they were asking, and I want to make sure Alec was okay.
And you played online with other folks?
Sometimes.
They were asking about the video games, what they did online. Just trying to get details about, anything that he might know that might be of use. which led me to believe that they had no real leads or any idea who could have possibly done it.
Is anybody giving you a hard time?
I watched his demeanor, and it was typical Alec. He answered the questions, didn't seem overly upset. He just seemed to answer the questions in an honest, reasonable way at the time.
I'm sorry, I wish I could be more help.
I don't know if he was ever a suspect or not.
If you think of anything at all, please give us a call.
The few facts I knew about the crime, there was no signs of any forced entry, so it appeared as though somebody knew they could get in the house without having to break in. It appeared to be a personal crime.
We're gonna go.
Thank you, officers.
So there were points where I would wonder, could he have had something to do with it? But then I was watching him. His behavior didn't seem to have changed. Everything seemed, quote, as normal as you could be expected in a scenario. And frankly, no father or parent ever wants to truly think their child is capable of such a thing. She opens the door and invites us back in.
Alec, are you okay?
Alec has something he'd like to tell you. There was a memorial service held for the Haynes family, and I told Alec he ought to go, and at first he didn't want to go.
I want to thank everyone for being with us today. We're here to celebrate the life of Kevin.
And he said there's going to be a lot of people there that didn't care about Kevin or didn't hang out with him when he was alive, and now they're going to show up at the memorial service. But I said to him, he was one of your best friends. You owe it to him to go to this.
The devout are taken away, and no one understands that the righteous are taken away to be spared from evil.
There was a lot of emotion at the service, but there was still definitely this uneasiness and fear. Nobody could picture or imagine why anybody would hurt this family.
I believe the family has a statement to make.
A member of the Haynes family got up to address the church. And he makes a plea to everyone in the church. He goes, it's very likely the person who did this is sitting here with us right now. If you're there, do the right thing.
All we ask is that you step forward, that you talk with the police, and give our family the closure we deserve.
I remember sitting in the back of the church just looking over that going, I never thought of that. Wow, the person who did this could be sitting right here with us. I kept an eye on Alec throughout the service. He was sitting maybe, a few rows up in front of me, trying to see if he was doing okay. There was no reaction from him. Typical stoic Alec, just sat there quietly, listened, and no other real reaction. It did seem strange to me because it was how Alec always seemed to deal with stuff. He just kind of kept it in, so it didn't seem unusual. It was just typical Alec behavior. Three or 4 weeks after all this, he's staying with his mother's, and there was a couple of messages on my cell phone. Alec had been talking about killing himself the night before and was now in the Phil Haven Mental Health Hospital.
Come this way.
The psychiatrist is extremely concerned for Alec. He diagnosed him with severe depression and that he's going to be under 24/7 suicide watch.
My God.
It's the first time I really started to get a grasp of how significant it was. The therapist's mood had changed a little bit, and he said, Alec has something he'd like to tell you.
I think it's best if you spoke with your son.
Alec, are you okay? Are you hurt?
So we went in and Alec was there. And he looks right at me and he goes, I killed Kevin and his parents.
What? No. That's not true.
I was in a state of shock. Is this real? Are you really telling the truth here? Sure you're not making this up? He says, no, I'm not making it up.
Dad, I'm not lying.
And I said, well, if you really did this, give me some details about the crime scene that nobody would know unless they were there. We gotta make sure that this isn't just some grab for attention or some fabrication in your mind because of what you're going through. Alec, left his mother's house sometime early a.m. after midnight, went to the Haynes house, and from there he went up to Kevin's parents' room first, and then after he'd attacked Kevin's parents, he went into Kevin's room. Left the way he came in and walked through the woods behind their house and returned home. I knew for a fact it was true. I did it.
Let's take Alec to his room.
It's gonna be okay. I was only able to give him a quick hug and tell him I love him, and then they escorted him away. And an administrator from Philhaven came in. And he said to us, Philhaven, being a mental health hospital, there's very strict laws pertaining to what they're allowed to disclose. The law pretty much states that nobody else there had the right to come forward and say anything. The only thing I really remember that this gentleman said to us was, I hope you're going to do the right thing. And it dawned on me what he meant by the right thing was. He expects us to go tell the authorities what we just found out and learned. That night, when I got home, I was laying in bed, staring at the ceiling. And I'm crying. I had 2 other children, and I've spent a good part of their childhood and their upbringing telling me you need to do the right thing. And what kind of father am I if the biggest test of my life comes along and I don't do the right thing? And then there's the Haynes family, who deserves to know what happened to their loved ones and who did it. But as a father, my instinct, everything in me wants to protect my child, wants to help my child. How is going into police, helping him? It's like such a betrayal, isn't it? So it was, turn my son in, go to the police, or betray everything I said my life is about, and lie or not come forward. When you're in a mode of desperation, all kinds of crazy things went through your head. I had this thought coming ahead that I could get him out of Philhaven, break him out, and we could just run away from this. Maybe there's a chance for him. And I just started to pray. Just please get me through today. For my family, for Alec, for the Haynes family. I said, I just need to get through one more day. I thought I could get away with getting rid of that knife. It'll be gone forever. Nobody will ever know. More details about the crime scene came out, and all 3 members of the family had been killed with a knife. Alec never really told me he used a knife, but one of the times I was visiting him, he implied or said something that led me to believe that the murder weapon was still in my house. Because of the laws, the therapists weren't allowed to come forward and tell anybody what Alec had said. So as a result, they expected me to come forward and tell them what we know. So I went up to his room and started looking. I started looking through his backpack. It wasn't in there. He had a big bag he carried, which was martial arts stuff. I looked through that. It wasn't in there. And then I opened up his dresser and saw that knife I'd given him as a hand-me-down from father to son. I remember thinking, he wouldn't have used that knife. So I pulled it out of the dresser and took it out of the sheath, and the tip of the knife was broken off. I can't explain it other than this gut feeling. He used this knife. This is it. I know it is. I just kind of stood there and stared at it. I'd given him this, what I thought was, a sentimental gift. And now that memento, that small little gift, had taken away so much. I had some of those crazy thoughts. There's a big river called the Susquehanna River not too far from us, where I lived in Lancaster. I could drive, if there's nobody behind me, throw it over the edge of the bridge and it'll be gone forever. Nobody will ever know. I thought I could get away with getting rid of that knife. It might have been the last chance to save Alec, I don't know. Maybe it's another way I failed him, I don't know. I don't know.
And that's when he told me he killed Kevin and his parents.
His initial reaction was what we would come to find with just about everybody. Kind of a silence and this stare of like, my gosh, what, really? That's what most people's faces look like when we tell them what happened.
What do you think I should do?
But he was caring, compassionate. He prayed for Alec and our family. He prayed for the Haynes family. And at the end, he prayed for me to have the strength to do what I needed to do.
We ask that you guide Tim's heart. He has a difficult decision to make. One that he can only make with you by his side.
That was really the thought that resonated in my mind, that praying for me to have the strength to do what I need to do.
Amen.
Amen.
I was pretty certain I knew what I was going to do at that point. Ultimately, it came down to that the responsibility to the Haynes family, the community, society, my moral compass of what's right and wrong. I'm overrode the fact that he was my son. I have to do the right thing, and that's coming forward.
The murders of Tom, Lisa, and Kevin Haynes shocked this once tranquil neighborhood that everyone had assumed was safe from violent crime. Police initially had few leads, but they may now have the break they've been looking for. A teenager is reportedly in custody, having been turned in by his own father.
When I walked into the police station, there's more of a dread than relief. It's just a sense of betrayal, sense of dread, sense of exhaustion, sense of hopelessness.
Police say it wasn't random and that Alec initially intended to smother his friend, but allegedly changed his mind and used a knife instead.
At the end, I was just kind of sitting there. I think I had my hands on the table, my head was kind of down. And I remember raising my head and I looked, and the state police officer was still sitting across the table from me. I looked at him and said, it's not your fault. And he didn't have to do that. And if he's still out there, it was a big deal to me.
The uncertainty that has plagued this community may finally be gone, but while police think they now know who committed this crime, they still don't understand why.
It's a picture of a young man who threw away his entire life and devastated another family in the process. The big question I often get is, why did he do it? The most he'd ever said to me was that Kevin had really been annoying him lately. Well, who goes and murders 3 people because they were annoying? That night he said he felt like there was this uncontrollable rage about him. Like it wasn't even him, that he was just in this state of rage. Just utter rage. That rage inside of him wanted to get out. And they were the folks he chose. I don't know what to say. It just was a tragedy I can't imagine for that family. This is a photo of myself and Alec and his little brother when we visited him. One of the last photos I have of Alec and myself and his little brother together. When we visited, often they would reminisce about things they did when they were younger and the fun times they had. After a few visits, and you continue to speak about those same things, those same memories, you realize that for Alec, there weren't going to be any new memories. There was an immense amount of grief and grieving that took place then. Those memories that we could share and talk about, stopped at 16. The person identified themselves calling from the correctional institute he was in, and the person hesitated on the other end of the phone, and she proceeded to tell me that Alec had committed suicide in his cell, that they did everything they could to save him, but they didn't get to him in time. I gotta admit, the first sense was probably, well, it's over. And it may be a cold response, maybe, but when he was sentenced to prison, there was an immense amount of grief and grieving that took place then. So when he took his life 10 years later, there was grieving and there was sadness, but it was different. It was more of a sense of relief for him and a sadness for the rest of us who don't get to see him anymore. This is a letter that Alec wrote to me. When he was first in prison, we wrote very often. He says, "Dear Dad, the pain and regret over what I have done and how I hurt so many makes me feel like I'm going to throw up. I let everyone down and I did something horrible. What I am is evil. Who I am is good. I want to be a good person. My dark side ruins everything. I'm sorry that I couldn't be stronger. A house divided against itself cannot stand." By the time that he sent this to me, I'm encouraged to hear that he was showing remorse for what he did. I felt it was progress for him. He was trying to understand all of it. Not that it changes things. Again, not that it creates sympathy for Alec. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to show that in a lot of ways there were certainly sides to him that to dismiss him as simply an evil individual is ignoring a lot of the story. The only reason that we agreed to do this interview was that if it would provide hope to somebody else. The one bracelet I wear, often it says trust, the other one says hope. For me, they're really two very, very important things. Hope that things might be better tomorrow or the day after. Trust that there's maybe a strength that we didn't realize we had. Trust that there's help out there that maybe you didn't think would be out there. And at the end of the day, just trust that it'll be okay. Doesn't matter what you're going through, don't let it be the end of your story.